right, we're going to do some review for the quiz you are about to take. So looking at these three, we can divide 2 out of each of them. If you aren't sure, you can open your calculator and type GCF, put a parenthesis and put 18, 10, 6, and it will tell you that you can divide 2 out of each of them. We can also take an X out of each of them and a Y. So you're just looking for what they have in common, and we're going to undistribute the 2xy. We're going to factor it out. So we're going to divide them all by 2xy. So for the first one, 18 divided by 2 is 9. We have x squared, and we're dividing out an x, so there's just 1 left. It's basically like 2 minus 1 is 1. And then there was a y, but we divided it out, so it cancels and it's gone. So minus, now we're on the second one. 10 divided by 2 is 5. We have x to the fourth. We divided out an x, so we're left with 3. Again, 4 minus 1 is 3 is what we're doing there. And then same thing with y, 7 minus 1 is 6. Plus, now we're going to do the same thing with the third term. 6 divided by 2 is 3. We have an x, but we divided it out, so it's gone. Just don't even put it. And then for the y, 3 minus 1 is 2. And that is your answer. So you're just deciding what they share in common, and you are undistributing it. Looking at this one, I noticed there are 4 terms, so that is our grouping. Looking at just the first 2, they share in common an x. So we're going to divide x out of both of them. You'd be left with y minus 4. Now, when we do the second half, you're going to get a y minus 4. It has to turn out that way. So for these, you can divide out a 3, and specifically it's a positive 3. You put whether that's positive or negative, and when you divide them both by 3, you get left with y minus 4. This is going to happen. You're going to get the same thing there. So draw your 2 sets of parentheses. What they have in common goes in the first one, and then if I cover those up, what's left goes in the other one, so x plus 3. So if you have 4 terms, that is your grouping. This one is going to be your multi-step factoring. We're going to take out a greatest common factor, and then we're going to need to split it again. It's going to be our difference of squares. So I can divide 50 and 18 by 2. Again, undistributing a 2, just dividing them both by 2. You're going to have 25x squared minus 9. The 2 is just there. And then this is going to split. I noticed 25 and 9 are both perfect squares. And it's like a trinomial where the middle term is missing. So we want that to cancel out and be 0. Basically, you get the exact same thing in both of these, but one is plus and one is minus. And that's how it cancels out to give you 0. So this is going to split 5x and 5x. 5 times 5 is 25. X times x is x squared. 9 is going to split plus 3 and minus 3. So 3 times 3 gives you 9. So they should be the exact same thing, but 1 plus and 1 minus. This is your trinomial, your regular old X box. In my opinion, this is one of the easier types of factoring. 9 goes on the top, negative 6 goes on the bottom. So I'm looking for numbers that multiply to be 9. That would be 3 times 3. But to get negative 6, they're going to both be negative. Also, a negative times a negative gives you a positive 9. So when you draw your parentheses, you get x minus 3 and x minus 3. I always call this a twin. When it's the same thing twice, you write it with a squared. All right, same thing with this one. It's your trinomial. Negative 24 goes on the top, negative 5 goes on the bottom. Numbers that multiply to be 24 that are going to work would be 3 times 8. And to get a negative 5, I need the 8 to be negative. So when I go draw my parentheses, I'm going to have x plus 3 and x minus 8. In my opinion, that's kind of the easiest type of factoring. Turns out simple. This is going to be the same thing, but you're going to have a couple of extra steps because of that 12 out front. When you have a number in front of the x squared, like notice this one didn't have it, so we didn't have to do those extra steps. But when you have a number there, you're going to multiply the first and last term. So 12 times negative 2 will be negative 24. 5 goes on the bottom. So it's actually really similar to the one that we just did. It'll be 8 times 3. But to get a positive 5, you would put the negative with the 3, because 8 minus 3 gives you positive 5. And then you take both those numbers and divide them by whatever is out front. So 8/12, that will reduce to 2/3. If you don't know that, put 8/12 in the calculator and hit the little fraction button. It'll reduce it for you. And then we're going to put -3/12, and that reduces to -1/4. And when you go to write your answer, just start with the denominator. So this will be 3x plus 2, and this will be 4x minus 1.